Now, how are you feeling about this whole release of this film?
Well, I think it's great that that people have a more accurate reflection of who Ricky is, and I feel great that I had the opportunity to work with someone who was willing to be so honest and candid, because I think that really has hit a note with people. You know, they're used to seeing athletes who are either protecting themselves or enlisting other people to protect them, and I think that by Ricky opening up and being so human, that people have got a much better idea of who he is, but also they're touched by the real nature of what he went through.
Are you going to keep doing this? Keep documenting Ricky?
I think we're going to transition into a nice, healthy, long friendship. I mean, I'm just shooting the behind the scenes of all this stuff because we retained the rights to the footage pre-2009, so there's sort of a bookend to this in terms of making the film. So that's what I'm doing with this, but I think he's going to be fine just by on his own.
Given where Ricky is now in his life, and considering where you started the documentary, it creates a beautiful story arc to where he is now. But when you began this project, you had honestly no idea where it was going to end. So how did you expect it to progress, and then how did it?
Well, I think the biggest problem I had is when I had expectations. And that's something we went through a few different times. And when I had expectations, or I put goal-oriented time frames on it, that was something that made him uncomfortable. So it was organic to the core, and you know, initially it was supposed to be something that lasted 5 months, and he wasn't going to be interviewed for it. I traveled the country for a month with 2 of my friends. We drove all over the place, about 11,000 miles, did about 40 interviews, and I think we would have had a great film without him. But when he consented to do it, I think it obviously raised the level of the quality of it and really gave people a greater idea of who he is.
Sean, when did ESPN enter the picture?
October of 2008, we had a meeting with Connor Shell and his group in New York, and myself and well, my film partner wasn't involved in that meeting yet. But in the very first meeting, Connor Shell said that he thought that Ricky was a mirror to our culture. And as soon as I heard that, I felt really comfortable where I was at, and I felt like I was in the right place. And they, true to their word, they let us sort of show, without, you know, I think without gang tackling, like show the media's involvement in creating Ricky's inaccurate cultural brand. And I was really grateful to them for that.
How did you get hooked up with Ricky initially?
I came here in the summer of '98, right before his senior season, and did a story for ESPN for College Game Day, a freelance piece, and they wanted me to do a piece leading into the season, but I didn't want to come to Texas. I didn't want to go to Florida because I didn't want to deal with the heat, so I wanted to go to Ohio State and to Joey Germain. And my first instincts aren't always the best sometimes. And but they called me back and they said, listen, you know, Ricky's an outside-the-box type of thinker. You're like that. Would you read this article in ESPN, the magazine, and reevaluate that? And you can still do what you want, but if you want, I would appreciate if you'd read this article. My boss told me that. And I read it, and I was blown away by his candor, his sensitivity, and the fact that the first quote he had, I'll never forget it, said, "I valued nice," just like being nice to people. And I was really touched by that, and I thought that you know, people forget, like when Ricky was here, like he was loved here, he was loved nationally, he was loved. I mean, there was a love affair going on with this guy until he got into the draft process, until people started chipping away at his small hands, or you know, he gained a little weight after the season, or all these things. And I think that was something that was difficult for him to deal with, because he came out of this cocoon of, you know, adulation, and then all of a sudden within a few months they're trying to tear him down that quickly. And he's sensitive, so he wasn't really expecting it. He thought that the honeymoon was going to continue.
Do you have any little stories from the Grass Valley clippings that you did there? Anything?
Yeah, well, I ended up...
Is there anything that didn't make it in there that kind of interesting that happened there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that that didn't make it. You know, during the time at the ashram, I was there for 3 months in a 4-month period, and that was perhaps our most difficult time in terms of filming, because he was doing a lot of work on himself, and I was trying to do work on this film and finish and get back to my life. I was missing my son's Little League season, so the intensity with that was ratcheted up, and he sort of checked me, and basically said, listen, you know, you're in a place where you could figure out a lot about yourself and do some real important work that's going to carry you through the rest of your life, and all you're focusing on is this film. So he let guys from like NFL Network come in and do things, and just, man, I was just pissed, you know. And I was so mad, you know. And the more I got aggressive with the idea that, or territorial about this story, the more he rebelled against it. And then I just, at one point I figured, you know what, I got to surrender. And that's what he required, you know, because he wanted me to be working on myself as ardently as he was working on himself, because he didn't feel it was fair that I basically came in and without doing the work that he was doing, how could I understand his story? So, I mean, he made a lot of sense, you know.
So you started doing yoga and
yeah, I started. I mean, I was like
stuff.
the reverse supersize me guy.
Yeah.
I came in like, you know, with a card carrying Jack in the Box McDonald's dude, and I had to go vegan for 3 months.
Oh, man.
And, I mean, I snuck off campus a few times, had some candy bars and you know, a few beers and some pizza. But by and large, I was eating what they ate. I was doing what they did. I got up, you know, 5:30 like they did. I was chanting. I started doing everything that was in the program. And
What about playing poker? Were you playing poker with
I
the
played
boys
poker.
too?
I played poker with the guys in Nevada City, and that was a lot of fun. They're a really good group of guys, and I think that that's an important scene in the film, not because they're smoking marijuana, but because I think that a lot of people that will watch this film could relate to those guys. So I mean, like, those are guys, they're just in the neighborhood, you know, and just a bunch of buddies hanging out and regular dudes. And that was one of the things that Ricky really missed out on by being who he was as an iconic figure, as a football player and as a superstar. He just wanted to be able to chill out and hang out, and it wasn't about weed. It was about just go into a place and not everything's about you. You know, you're at a table with 6 other guys, everybody's talking shit, and you know, you're just one of the guys. And that was one of the reasons why he wouldn't let me shoot that stuff or shoot him playing basketball, because he didn't want to draw attention to it. Everybody knew who he was, you know.
Did you have to convince him to let ESPN have this project?
No. He had more insight about that than I did, I think. I think he realized that it's almost like counter-programming in a sense, because this is the organization that by and large really helped create that cultural brand. So this was the audience that he really felt that we could hit, and with the reality of who he is. And then also, you know, we both discussed it, and we felt that because of the nature of the film, because it's not so football heavy, that it would really, and his involvement with yoga and more of a spiritual journey, that there's a real possibility, even within a sports framework, that we'd be able to affect and hit other people. And I think that's starting to happen. And I think that there's been, I'm not very technically savvy, so I don't know how to get into all these places, but apparently, like, you know, apparently a Twitter account just got open for me today, but the response has been really positive, and people feel a real connection to Ricky now in a way that they couldn't before. He was
Okay, what's your Twitter name?
I have no idea. I think Jocelyn set it up for me.
Okay.
I got no idea, you know. I mean, I was making fun of that stuff 2 months ago, so, you know, I was the last guy to get a cell phone, and, you know, I'm just trying to get past the 90s right now, man.
Can you say what ESPN paid for the film?
No, I'm not allowed to talk about that, but I can tell you that Ricky was paid back exactly what he put in. So he had no profit, and he was cool with that, you know. And it was important for us to have people know that it wasn't propaganda. I think when people watch this, they realize that, like, okay, you know, it wasn't like we're setting him up to be a PR dream, and we're letting people say that some of the things they're saying about him from 2004. You know, I think that really strikes people, and I think he's got, you know, guts to allow it, you know. So, I mean, we're in a generation now that, like, I mean, Tiger Woods is coming out. Ben Roethlisberger didn't write that statement the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. You know, and everybody knows it. So, like, I think there's a pervasive cynicism in our culture, like, yeah, right, you know, and we want guys who make a lot of money to fail, because there's an inherent jealousy about money and fame. So when especially if they're not you know, necessarily good guys, we want to see them fall, you know. So that's part of our culture. That's why reality TV is so hot, because we want to see Snooki get punched in the face, right? And the fact is, we all know who that is. I know who it is too, and that's sad, you know. I watch crack TV just like the rest of us, you know, and it's sad. You know, but that's why I think that hopefully that something like this and Ricky being that real will make an impact, as slight as it can be. Yeah.
How long are you and Ricky going to be around Austin?
I'm leaving back home to go tomorrow. My son pitches
Where's
on
home?
Monday. Live near Seattle. I
Great.
just moved. I lived in New York for 15 years. I just moved and I'm enjoying my life a lot
And
more.
say who you are for this.
My name is Sean Pamphilon. I'm the director of Run Ricky Run, ESPN's 30 for 30 series.
Hey, thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I hope
you.
you guys enjoy it.
All right.
Have you guys seen it yet?
Yeah, I've seen it.